See you better now. So today I thought we'll talk a little bit about when our practice, even mindfulness or any practice that we might have, um, can become a spiritual bypass. And this is a tricky thing, mostly with our mindfulness practice, but it can happen sometimes to us. And so I think it's important to mention. Um, so spiritual bypassing often happens when we practice a spiritual path, and whichever that might be, but this practice is not showing up in our lives. And so we might we might experience a certain way of being when we're practicing, when we're sitting, but then we really need it out there, it's just not there. The mind constantly is going into autopilot. And so I think it's worth exploring a little bit, because the idea with our mindfulness practice is that we can also practice when we're not sitting in the cushion, when we're not meditating. So this is when we talk about the informal practice and the importance of that as well. When we don't have that much time, um, to practice formally, but we still throughout the day can bring our practice to the day and be conscious of what we're doing, bringing our full attention to the moment, so that we can reap the benefits of this practice every day and at all moments. So maybe just settling in and taking in a deep breath. I'll talk a little more about this, but I'm going to guide you through a meditation that really could allow us to just settle in and bring our attention to intention, because I believe intention can really help with bringing our practice to our everyday life. But just being mindful of our intention, by just paying attention to our intention. So even as you come here today, I wanted to really quick just invite you to check into, why are you here today? Just notice that. If you like to keep your eyes open or close your eyes and just reflect on that. What brings you to practicing? What brings you to sitting here? And just noticing what comes up for you. And there's no right or wrong. We're not making anything wrong. We're just noticing. Seeing if maybe, I've been having a really long day, or I need to refocus. What is it? Why are you here? Just checking in with yourself, not making a wrong, not making a right, but just noticing, becoming aware of your drive, of this intention for being here. And so now maybe taking in a deep breath. And on a long exhale, just allowing for the attention to rest right in this moment. And we can do that by bringing your attention to this body, becoming aware that there is a body here that's already arrived. Be feeling those areas of the body in contact with the chair, the cushion, the mat if you're lying down, maybe your feet if you're standing. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. And we're settling this attention, but it's a very kind attention. It's not a rigid attention. It's not a militant attention. It's just a subtle attention, just courting the attention right back to the body. Even if it's distracted, even if there's a lot going on, just coming back to these areas of contact of the body with the cushion, the chair, the surface that's holding you. And just allowing the attention to be fully here, fully present in this moment. And welcoming yourself to this very important moment. And if the mind is distracted, if there's a lot still going on, if your eyes are open, maybe just lowering the gaze, allowing for the mind to get the message of looking inward, turning your attention inward. And as you do this, just checking in with your pulse, noticing if the pose that you've chosen is allowing for the airflow to come in and go at an easy pace. If you notice yourself slouching a little too much, then that can restrict the air passage. And so just noticing, tuning into this breath in the body breathing without any help. And just noticing the airflow, the breath coming into the body, going out into the world. If you're noticing a lot of thoughts still lingering in here, You're noticing any agitation in the body is still here, and that's okay. Just acknowledging that. And then seeing if you can really kindly escort your attention to just the sensations in the body, allowing the attention to settle here. Maybe the sensation of the breath in the body, maybe the sensation in your feet or your hands, or even turning towards sound. Just noticing what's here. And if you choose to do sound, then just noticing the pitch, the rhythm, the volume. I welcome you to this moment. And so welcoming yourself to this moment. The mind might be busy or distracted by things to do, but at this moment, there's nothing to do. There's no other place to be than here. If at any moment you notice a lot of thinking, as I was saying, and the thoughts keep coming one after the other, just noticing them, turning towards them, allowing them to know that you're seeing, that you are aware of them. That's okay. So, this is not about suppressing your thoughts, putting the mind in blank. It's not about any of that. It's about noticing where the mind goes and then training our attention to come back to this moment. The things that are present, the breath, the body, sounds that might be here, might not be here, even silence, the absence of sound. Physical sensations in your hands, your feet. By noticing your thoughts, you're just kind of letting go of any need to for them to be or to not be there. So this is the act of letting go. It's more of letting be. So softening around any tension or tightness, any need for things to be different than they are. You might notice the mind wandering, which is a natural function of the mind. You might notice the attention drifting. Every time you notice this, it's a mindful moment. And so, whenever you notice the mind wandering, telling stories, the many thoughts that takes us in so many different directions, just bringing your attention, really kind attention, back to your anchor. It could be the body, the breath, the sounds, whatever you're most present with in this moment, whatever feels more alive for you. Maybe the palms of your hands, the bottom of your feet, the air coming and going, touching the upper lip, touching the nostrils, leaving the body and going into the world. The sounds that change and come and go, the silence, whatever works for you. Coming back and again and again. If you notice yourself in this moment, if you notice the mind trying to fix something, trying to change something, pushing something away, every time you notice this, just coming back to just being, by becoming aware of the body, breath, coming back to your anchor. Whenever you notice judgment, just knowing also that this is another activity of the mind. And then just bringing your attention right back to your anchor. the body, the breath, the sounds, whatever you're most present with, whatever is most present for you at this moment. So as we notice this, sometimes way of bypassing spiritual bypass is this wanting to practice because of a certain outcome, because of a certain fix. We can just bring our attention to that and notice that that could even be an activity of the mind, the judging mind, the thinking mind, the wanting mind. Nothing wrong with that. It serves an incredible purpose. But our practice allows us to see deeper, to just be, to notice where the mind is going. And so, a way to notice when this is happening is to get our intention, to notice the intention of the moment. An intention manifests by the aim of the mind. It guides where the mind is going. It's just kind of like when we turn to see something, before we even know it, the mind is already, the intention, sorry, is already aiming at something. So this could be the leaning of the mind towards a certain outcome that we might notice. We might notice the drive of the mind. Often in cases when the intention is not in the present, then the mind goes into autopilot. And this autopilot is often driven by our deepest needs that perhaps have not been yet worked through. The autopilot is just allowing us to go into our coping mechanisms for survival. How do I make it through this moment? And so it takes us to a reaction mode, to doing instead of just being. And so being aware of our intention could be really important, into noticing even when we're practicing and we're bypassing so many things. Sometimes this bypass can even show up as us coming into the moment so that we don't have to deal with other things, thinking that this meditation will set me at ease, thinking I'm really stressed right now and not wanting to be with this, really noticing where the mind is aiming is so important in general for everything, but especially for our practice. So Kristen Rogers writes a poem and he says, like seeds on the wind, our intentions spread far and wide, unfurling their power as they go, until they find the environment balanced just right. And this balancing allows our dreams to take root and begin to grow. And so you've heard me talk about intention quite a bit during class, because I think intention is one of the most important things in our practice. And sometimes we tend to think that intention is set. We can set an intention, but way before we even set an intention, the mind already has an intention. It's already aiming at something. It's already trying to get something. So noticing this can be really important. And so with our practice, the idea is that the practice doesn't only happen on the cushion, but that the practice actually flourishes everywhere in our lives. And there's this non-judgmental attitude, this beginner's mind, right? And this foundations of mindfulness, the foundation of mindfulness is we can use them to guide our intention as a solid path to guide our intention, also our deepest values, our moral standards. This can all allow us, so we can notice when our intention is drifting. We can notice when we're not living up to our practice. So before even reacting in the moment, and this happens when we drift into autopilot, we can maybe ask ourselves, am I cultivating beginner's mind right now? Maybe in the presence of one another. This could be something to practice even in our breakout rooms, when we go in our breakout rooms, in our small groups. The moment we see somebody, there might be a memory, something that comes up. The practice calls for beginner's mind, for seeing each other as perennial, giving ourselves the possibility of understanding our own humanity with kindness and compassion. And so then there is the generosity, the patience, the non-striving, the trust, and all of those attitudes that can allow us to see when our intention is not really alive, when our intention is going into just survival mode, when the mind is driving the intention and not our practice. So in this way, we can maybe take action. We can actually act from the heart, from our inner wisdom. So that's the idea with our practice, really, that we can actually allow it to flourish in every area of our lives. In this formal sitting, this meditation, how we started today, focusing on the moment, it allows us to see where the mind is aiming at all times. That quietness and that stillness opens up for us to see where is the mind going, so that when we're about our day and our lives, we can notice, where is it aiming at? Where is it pointing? Where am I leaning towards? And then we can notice our own reactivity. And if we are reacting in this way, then we know that we're in autopilot. I'm reacting to the past, reacting to the future. I'm not here in the moment. So I'd like to close this session with Rumi and his poem, The Absolute. He says, the absolute works with nothing. The workshop, the materials are what does not exist. Try to be a sheet of paper with nothing on it. Be a spot on the ground where nothing is growing, where something might be planted, a seed, possibly from the absolute. So that's the idea, that every time we encounter the moment, we come in brand new, blank into the moment. Any preconceived ideas that we might have about the past, about the future, they can all just sit back, go in the background. We can approach this moment as new, noticing what is it in me right now. Am I practicing compassion, generosity? Am I practicing trust, patience, non-striving, beginner's mind? So I thank you for your formal practice, for this time together. It's so wonderful to be with all of you.